The movie starts with Lindy Lewis, who had a hard childhood because her parents didn't give much attention to her. This made her trauma worse, and now she has a condition called intermittent explosive disorder, which makes her get very mad very easily. Even though she tried many treatments and served in the army to control her anger, nothing worked. Her doctor, Dr. Munchin, came up with a plan to help her. He gave her a vest that gives her electric shocks to control her anger and stop her from fighting. Lindy goes on a date with a boy named Justin to try living a normal life. She almost decides to leave at the last moment but chooses to stay because Justin seems like a nice guy. During their chat, a waiter keeps refusing to bring the food Justin asked for, which makes Lindy angry but she stays calm. However, Lindy overhears a waitress making fun of Justin in the bathroom. Lindy tries to use her device to stay calm but it doesn't work. She loses control, confronts the waitress, and hits her before running out of the restaurant without telling Justin. Lindy takes the device to Dr. Munchin the next morning and asks him to fix it. While he works on it, he asks about her date. Lindy thinks the date was bad because she hurt someone again. Even though Dr. Munchin repairs the device, he tells her that the only way to really solve her problem is to build a strong bond with someone. He encourages her to try having a relationship. Lindy leaves without saying anything but later calls Justin to ask if they can meet. They get along well the next time they meet, and she even talks about her love for photography with him. They go to Lindy's house and he tries to kiss her. She feels worried, fearing she might hurt him. Justin then finds her vest but isn't scared and stays the night with her. The next morning Justin gives Lindy a camera and she is touched by his sweet gift. When he asks about her medical device, she hesitantly tells him about her disorder. She asks him to stay longer but he needs to go back to his job as an accountant. Before he leaves, he invites her to dinner at his place. Lindy is very happy about this surprise connection and tells Dr. Munchin how she feels. She thinks that because she didn't use her gadget last night, this relationship might not need it. She spends the day taking pictures with her new camera. While getting ready for dinner, she gets a message from Justin saying he might be late. When she tries to call him, Detective Vicars tells her that Justin has been killed. Lindy goes to the police station, where Vicars and Detective 9 tell her that her boyfriend's dead body was found in a dumpster. She feels they aren't paying enough attention to the matter and decides to investigate on her own. She attends Justin's funeral, mourning his death and remembering the brief time they shared. She meets Dr. Munchin again, this time unable to control her emotions, and he prescribes sedatives to help her calm down. When she wakes up, she tells him about Justin and her suspicions that his only customer, Barry, was involved in the murder. Dr. Munchin tries to persuade her to let the police handle it, but Lindy is determined to take matters into her own hands. Despite his attempts to stop her, Lindy goes ahead with her plan and leaves the clinic after delivering a threat. Despite his fears that she would hurt someone, she contacts Detective Vicars and asks that he come to her home. She sneaks into the building as he leaves, grabbing Justin's things from the evidence room. She gets Justin's address out of his wallet and goes to his apartment to look for clues. Vicars calls her while she is searching, expressing his displeasure with her actions. He tells her that his partner wants to arrest her, but he gives her a second chance, saying that 9 is on her way. Lindy rushes out of the apartment and encounters 9 at the door. 9 accuses her of murder and plans to take her to the police station. Because Vicars is still on the phone, Lindy shares the phone with 9 and runs after hitting her. She grabs Justin's McLaren and speeds away from the parking lot. Lindy manages to escape after 9 and Vicars get into an accident. She goes to a cell phone store the next morning and begs the manager to connect her with a hacker. Lindy asks the hacker to break into Justin's phone, and the manager introduces her to Andy. Andy wonders if her boyfriend was a drug dealer while checking because he had deleted all information from the phone. Lindy explains that he was only an accountant. The last 6 calls Justin got were all from an arms dealer named Barry Chrysari, whom Lindy thinks was Justin's only client, even though he didn't say what he did. Lindy thanks Andy and leaves her with the car key, determined to go after Barry. When she arrives at Barry's place, she finds out he arranges paid fights. She confronts him about Justin's murder, but he won't tell her anything. Barry challenges Lindy to fight his 3 best men for the information she wants, and she agrees. After beating all 3 of them, Barry tells her what she wants to know and takes her with him. Barry's men try to kill her in the car, but Lindy fights back and manages to defeat them, making Barry spill the beans. Barry reveals that Justin was killed by his boss, Gareth Feasel. He also mentions that finding Feasel would be really hard because he's powerful, and even the government won't go after him. Meanwhile, Detective 9 visits Vicars in the hospital and warns him about Lindy's history of violence and assault due to her anger issues. Lindy shows up after 9 leaves and thanks Vicars for the warning. She tells him she's found the murderer and asks him to arrest Feasel. But Vicars says they need evidence to act. When Vicars asks Lindy why she's so eager to find Justin's killer, even though she barely knew him, she explains that he was one of the few genuinely nice people she'd met lately. Moved by her worry, Vicars gives her Fizzle's address but warns her not to go alone. 9 shows up and tries to arrest Lindy while they talk, but Lindy escapes once again. She gets to Fizzle's office building, where Delroy, his security guard, offers to take her to his office, but then knocks her down in the elevator. He asks her why she's after Fizzle. She tells him she's looking for Justin's killer but isn't related to Justin. Delroy tries to help her but takes her vest and throws her out of the building. Lindy keeps searching for her vest in the car and tells the driver to stop, but when he refuses she hits him, causing an accident. She escapes from the car and runs away. After sharing her adventures, she meets Dr. Munchin again and asks him to make another device. She returns home later, but finds someone has broken in. Entering through the window, she discovers Faisal's men have set up a trap to kill her with an explosion. She takes the device with her after disabling the trap and sets another bomb in the flat to make it look like she died. As she leaves the building, she meets Vicars, who wants to arrest her for safety, but is distracted as her flat explodes, letting her disappear again. Vicars calls her and tries to convince her not to go after Faisal, telling her to let the authorities handle it. Lindy, however, thinks they won't arrest him and ignores his worries, sticking to her plan. She gets to Fizzle's office building but gets caught by Delroy again. Delroy takes her to Fizzle, who confesses to killing Justin and many others. Lindy tries to control her anger, but Delroy hits her, knocking her out. When she wakes up, she's tied to a chair. Lindy manages to break free and fights Delroy, making him reveal where Fizzle's secret office is. She faces more guards and a fight starts. After beating the guards, she reaches the office only to find Faisal already dead. Then, Justin shows up, even though she saw him buried. Justin explains that he's a CIA agent who used her to get to Faisal because they didn't want to be directly involved. He says that Dr. Munchin recommended her because he works for them and his research is funded by them. Justin tries to hurt her with an electric shock, but it doesn't work anymore because she has become resistant to it. Lindy fights back by throwing her bag at him and then runs away from the building. Justin, puzzled by her actions, gets caught in a bomb explosion that kills him. Lindy flees from the building and talks to Dr. Munchin. She tells him she thinks he's been using her for his own benefit. He apologizes and explains he didn't know about Justin's plan. Vicars and 9 find Lindy and Dr. Munchin arguing. At first, they fear Lindy might harm him, so they shoot her in the leg to stop her. But then they realize she's trying to handcuff him to give him to the police. Vicars admires her determination after taking her to the hospital, and both of them help her cover her tracks. They give back her device, which they had taken in the ambulance. Vicars asks Lindy out, and she agrees to think about it. Lindy goes back to her old place to get her things after recovering from her injuries and leaving the hospital. She is visited by a strange woman who later reveals herself to be Justin Sr. According to the woman, Lindy has been watched for years, and they want to use her anger to take down bad people.